Well, I got so many questions after I showed my backyard the other day and how you can make your plants happier if they are not already happy about all my different begonias. So I thought I would give you a little bit more information on how I'm taking care of them. This beautiful large-leafed begonia, this is in the Southern Living Plant Collection. This is Sterling Moon Lunar Lights, and it's absolutely gorgeous. It almost has kind of a silvery cast to it, maybe because at night it would almost illuminate the garden a little bit. Now this one is very, very healthy. It's one that I overwintered in the greenhouse. It's not blooming yet, but you can see I've got some big old fat buds right there and right here. And I am also going to give it a feed of this tiger bloom. This one is just, it's got a little bit higher phosphorus, so it's great for plants that are wanting to get into bud and bloom. And so I'm going to give it a feed of that. Now, one of the reasons that I am feeding all of my begonias, these classic kind of traditional dragon leaf begonias, by the way, this one, it's also a dragon leaf begonia, even though it kind of looks like a Rex. And this one requires lots of feeding. It's got buds coming out. But the reason that they are all requiring lots of feeding is because I am doing lots and lots of watering, as I shared with you the other day. More water than I think we think these guys typically need, because begonias can be prone, a little bit prone to root rot. They don't like soggy soil. However, in these extreme temperatures and in the extreme wind, they are wanting a lot more water than you would think. So I do water them on a daily basis, and I am feeding them consistently with a fertilizer, a high phosphorus fertilizer. If it gets really, really, really hot, like above 95 to 100, I might hold back on that a little bit. They really like the high humidity that we've been having, and they just like the additional TLC. Now, another advantage of begonias is you don't have to do any deadheading, because they are self-deadheaders. The flowers, when they're done, they just kind of fall off, and then they just keep pumping out blooms if we keep pumping out the fertilizer to feed them. So all of these along here are doing really, really well. Now, what I love particularly about the dragon wing begonias is just how easy they are to propagate. The other thing is I think it's really important to do these in large masses. Again, I've been having so much trouble with this. You guys have caught me on it several times. I keep saying less of more when it is more of less, kind of the counterpart to what we typically think of. But this one I think is just absolutely gorgeous, but it's more gorgeous because I've planted it in a large swath in a very, very large planter. And this, by the way, is a faux planter. Both of these are faux window boxes in my classic kind of cottage gray. They came in this color. I'll put up a link if they're still available. And these are lightweight enough then that I can put them in the greenhouse, or maybe you might want to put them if you've got a sunroom or a conservatory or something like that where you could overwinter them inside. They would probably be very, very happy in bright indirect light. So they not only make a brilliant outdoor plant, but they can also make a brilliant indoor plant if you have the conditions to be able to do that. You know, same thing with some of these begonias over here. But then the other thing I love about them is I can spread the wealth. So I can easily just break off a stem, very easy to do, and I can propagate them simply by sticking them in some moist, soft, receptive soil. And I'll show you that when we come back. Well, on a bad hair day, like today, I've been out in the mist, gardening outside. It's hard to be beautiful, but if anything can help, it's City Beauty. And you guys know I have used City Beauty products forever, especially the lip gloss. And let me tell you, well, it's actually kind of a system. I use the lip oil at night because I want its hydrating qualities. I like the fact that it kind of makes my lips smoother. I feel like it increases the volume. And then definitely the City Lips. It makes me feel like a teenager again, because I think I've used it practically since I was a teenager. especially if I'm outside in the wind, I can keep this in my pocket, and it just makes me feel a little less dried out, a little less wind whipped. But mostly, quite frankly, I use it because it makes my lips, which are getting thinner as I age, we all have that problem, it gives them more volume, more fullness, more of an even texture, and I really like that about City Beauty. So if you guys want to like that about City Beauty too, and get its effects that are both immediate and over time, build up over time, then definitely check out the code Vater for 20% off your purchase. Okay, so I'm always experimenting with different things, and sometimes you see that these dragon wing begonias, the green leaf, can handle more sun than you would think, and in this case it's turning out to be true. Now they do seem to be happier in the shade, and that's where I've got most of them positioned, but when I took a cutting of a couple of them this spring, I thought, well, the soil is moist, it's gravelly, and I wonder if I just stick a couple of cuttings down into the soil, if I can get them to turn into plants. Now this may be a really strange place. I'm sure you're thinking, Linda, this is not an optimal place to try that. But I did because I thought I could get a mass of them right here to cover up this clean out spout that's down here. And I have to say, they just are really taking hold, and they seem to be happy in that location. It was an experiment that seemed to be working out, and when the temperatures begin to moderate even more and this area becomes a little bit more shady, I think they'll be even happier. But if I come over this way, excusing myself, with the Annabelle Hydrangeas, I'm going to show you a couple of places where I did the same thing. And that is, I just had some pots. I didn't even propagate these in water first. I just broke off a piece, removed the leaves so the leaf nodes were exposed. And then these that are in the shade, in the spring, I just stuck some of these cuttings into this pot that has Nandina in it. And look, over here, I forgot, look, I stuck a dragon wing begonia in there too. Now these are happy, but they're not getting probably enough light to bloom much. But look at these over here. Yeah, these are really, really happy. And I just stuck these in the perimeter of one of these better boxwoods that I'm transforming into a globe. This one? Yeah, it's absolutely beautiful. And pretty soon, if I give it some high phosphorus food, look, it'll start really pumping out these pinky red blooms. So it's gorgeous. Now you may say, well, Linda, how are you going to overwinter these? Because don't you normally keep your boxwoods outside? And yes, I do. But what I will do then is I will just take more cuttings of these, pot them up in different pots, and then those I will overwinter. These, I might mulch them real heavily and put them in a protected area and just see if I can get them to come back. But if they don't, and if they die out because they are not frost hardy, then that's okay. I'll just stick some of those cuttings back in here. But right now, I think they really, really look beautiful. And I love the way the color of this leaf complements the Vater Cottage Gray. And by the way, if you want to know where this formula is, go to our website. It's under frequently asked questions, and you'll be able to see. Yeah, you'll be able to see what the color is very exactly by formulation, because it really doesn't have any name. Now, when we come back, I'm going to show you something else that you asked me about. It's all about answering your questions today. And how do I know when I can cut hydrangeas for them to be long-lasting? So, day before yesterday, we got a great rain, though it was a torrential downpour, and things are kind of still recovering. These Annabelle Hydrangeas are a little bit splayed, but because they've recently been hydrated and because I need to replace the bouquet that's on the corner of my island in the kitchen, I decided that today I am going to cut a huge bouquet of these Annabelle Hydrangeas. So a number of you asked, okay, so how do I know when to to cut them? Well, if they are still very, very fresh, you don't want to cut them at the time of day that we're shooting this right now, because it is just a little bit after 1 o'clock. The ideal time to cut any flowers to bring indoors is early in the morning when the temperatures are still cooler and they have maximum hydration from the cooler temperatures over the night. But today I am going to cut a large bouquet, but since it is not the morning and since I want kind of a different look, I'm not going to be cutting any of those that are still very, very fresh. And look at how gorgeous these are. They're in full sun right now. They're absolutely gorgeous. But these are not the ones that I'm going to be cutting today. I am going to be cutting a beautiful bouquet of these that already are starting to dry. They're a little papery. They have a lot of brown droppings on them from the cedar trees. But I am going to cut, I'm going to cut them very, very tall. But I can cut them wherever I want for this, but I want these to be really, really tall. But these are already starting to dry and are a little bit papery. So because of that, I'm not so concerned about cutting them first thing in the morning. The other reason is these are all still in the shade. So now I'm going to move my bucket into the shade. And by the way, I got this bucket from Gardener's Supply many years ago. If it's still available, I'll try to provide you with a link. Look at this, look at this huge head here. And since they're kind of droopy, I don't feel too bad cutting them because I think, well, they really they're kind of drooping anyway. Sometimes, if weather conditions cooperate and if there's enough growing season, some of these might even put out new growth at where I am making the cut. And since they bloom on new wood, they might even bloom again. Not as large and not as dramatically, but look at the size. Look at the size. Yeah, look at the size of those blooms. And I said it before and I'll say it again. This original one was just a 2-gallon plant that I brought, that I planted at my former home. It was a gift of Linda Kavanaugh. Some of you will recognize that name, who was the local NBC anchor that I used to do the Channel 4 gardening segment with, and she gifted me one of these. She also gifted herself one simultaneously because I had just told her about them. So when she found them, she got one for both of us. Oh, nice. Yes. Yes. We gardeners, we never turn down a gardening gift, especially if it's a plant. So I'm just going to keep cutting these.
It's very artistic just in the buckets.
Oh, I know. I know I love these buckets. And so sometimes if I'm tardy and I can condition them in this great bucket, and then if I am tardy about actually arranging them in a vase, they still look great while they're waiting. Don't you just love this limey green? I absolutely adore it. And because the blossoms are so large, I can get a really dramatic bouquet without even cutting that many flowers. And this would rival any bouquet of flowers that you would get at your florist or Trader Joe's. In my humble opinion, those I will throw into my composter. Go cut one more. And the other thing is, these are going to continue to dry inside, and this will be a really long-lasting arrangement and a huge arrangement, a really large-scale arrangement that if you wanted to put in, oh gosh, on a table in a foyer when you just walk in, or on a really massive dining room table, or on the island, large island in a kitchen, you can do just that.